So, teen drivers remain one of Ohio's most at-risk groups. This morning, we will see what kinds of dangers these teens are facing when they're behind the wheel. I'm Kim Wheeler, and this is Channel 3 News Today.
This Channel 3 HD newscast is brought to you by Window Nation, America's choice for window.
Very important stories coming up. How a man on a detour to save gas helped save a woman's life. It's an amazing story that you won't want to miss coming up. Also, teens encounter so many different distractions while driving. Well, this morning we will hear about some of those dangers and how teens, as well as other motorists, can stay safe on the highways. Now here's Marcus with the forecast.
And Kim, like you mentioned earlier, it's our...
Well, there are so many topics that are important for parents to talk with their teens about. One of them is driving safely, which is always a big concern. Ohio is the 32nd most dangerous state for teen drivers, and it's 30% more risky compared to the national death rate for teenagers here. Ken Stout from Drive Team Inc. joins us now with just how safe the roadways are for teenagers. Good morning. Thanks for being with us.
Good morning, Kim.
Well, we have been watching this morning. I know you have a teenager out there today going through some of the courses, but tell us what the biggest challenge is for teenagers who are driving today.
Yes, thanks so much, Kim. Marissa got up early this morning to come out and work with us. She's one of our teen drivers. And, you know, really the biggest thing teens have to work with out there is the environment while they're learning the skill of driving just to begin with.
Well, and on top of that, you also have the technology. We know that many teenagers, she's driving off very fast there, isn't she? Many teenagers, though, text and use a cell phone, too.
Yeah, and that kind of demonstrates it, that you really need to be focused on driving. Cell phones and texting and eating and all of these other distracting things that we do, they're very hard to do when you're trying to control a car like Marissa is this morning.
I think Marissa may be ready to maybe be in some kind of a race or something. What do you think?
You know, she's doing great. Parents need to work with their teens. And this teen magazine program coming up allows them to steer and brake and really teach parents how to work with their teen so that they are safe out on the roads.
This is such a scary time, too, for parents when their kids do start to drive. What do you recommend to parents, besides obviously getting the training that they should have and going over all the safety tips, but how can you reassure parents?
You know, it really starts early, Kim, with 8th, 9th, and 10th grade families, where you start learning about the safety of driving, and you start learning about the car and all the different pieces that you have with the car, and how to operate the safety systems of the car. So it really is a process that happens over a period of time.
Well, and the other issue, too, is what if you are in a car with someone who's driving recklessly, if you're a teenager with a friend? Well, what do you tell them about that? Because there's that whole peer pressure element, too.
It is so hard for teens to have to criticize one of their own peers. But what we tell them is this. When you're scared, whether it's an adult or whether it's another teen driver, you need to let that person know, I'm scared, I don't choose to do this anymore, please stop and let me out.
And that is certainly something that everybody needs to talk to their kids about. Sometimes, unfortunately, it's so hard for them to do that, but it is definitely an important subject to talk to them about. Well, thank you so much. We're going to check in with you a little bit later on, and I think we're going to talk to Marissa, too. I think maybe I'm going to start calling Speed Racer.
Thank you, Kim.
Thank you. All right, we also want to remind you that coming up Tuesday, October 23rd, you can join in the discussion on how to raise a safe teen driver. The information is listed on your screen, and we will post it on our website at WKYC.com. You can see the hours there as well. I don't know. After seeing that, my kids will ride a bike forever. Marissa scared me just a little.
You know, actually, I have to say, Marissa?
Yeah.
She was whipping it. She was, hey, safe driving, right?
Yes, there's somebody out there watching her, so I'm sure it's just fine, but she has a little bit of a lead foot.
Exactly, yeah. If she was my daughter, that would make me a little scary, too. But, hey, at least she has dry weather to practice driving very fast or slow. Yes, across Northeast Ohio, as we take a live look out on our University Hospital's HD camera, we see that there's a mix of clouds and sun out there, and we are on the warm side.
Fatal car crashes for 16 to 19-year-olds in the U.S. is nearly 3 times the rate for drivers aged 20 and older. So just how safe are teenagers when they're behind the wheel, and how can we make them safer? Ken Stout from Drive Team Inc. joins us once again with how teens can stay safe when they're behind the wheel. And I know you've been working with Marissa today. What are some of the key things that you talk to teenagers about in a lesson like this?
You know, it's really great. Learning to drive is such an opportunity for them to gain freedom, but to learn car control skills of steering and braking and acceleration are really the keys. As they learn to get into weight dynamics, as you saw a little earlier, Marissa is really getting smooth with her ability to take a 4,000-pound vehicle and move it through traffic.
And Marissa, we've been watching you go through the course this morning. Tell me what you learned this morning about your driving.
This morning I learned driving is really difficult to use lots of turns when you're going at a high speed. It's important to really have control of the car and to also work on your turning and your pivot points.
So was the idea for you to go through the course at a higher speed than you normally would, just to see what the dangers are of driving fast?
Yes, exactly. The goal of the course was to make sure that you could control the car at a high speed, which you could be doing when you're really driving.
Right. Now tell me about what's typical now with teenagers, because we hear so much, and even adults do this, but the texting and driving, cell phones. How common is that with teenagers, and how concerned are you about that when it comes to safety on the road, even when you may be meeting another driver who's doing that?
Honestly, I think texting and driving is probably the most ridiculous thing you could do. I know so many people that always don't think about it. They just think texting while driving, it's not a big deal. But in reality, when you text and drive, it's so incredibly dangerous. You put yourself at risk, you put everyone else on the road at risk, and you couldn't wait a couple seconds for a text message. Like, why text while drive? I don't think it's...
Yeah, exactly. And hopefully other teenagers and adults will hear that same message. So do you feel more confident now going out on the road after this?
Absolutely. I was so scared to start driving before I took Drive Team, but with this skills weekend and all the courses that we do, it helps so much so you're comfortable inside your car.
Okay, well, I'll stop calling you Speed Racer now.
Thank you.
Because I know you were just doing that because you were told to out there. You would never do that on the road. Thanks so much, Marissa.
Absolutely not.
And Ken, thanks so much for talking to us about this morning. It's a subject that worries so many parents. Everybody really dreads when their kids are going to be out on the road.
Yes, it's so dangerous, and you and the TV and your teen magazine are doing such a great job to train parents and teach parents of all the dangers and how we really can't avoid them.
Exactly. All right, well, thanks for all you're doing out there, and thanks for letting us watch as she went through the course this morning.
You're welcome.
All right, and coming up on Tuesday, October 23rd, you can join in the discussion on how to raise a safe teen driver. The information is listed right there on the screen, and we'll also post it on our website at WKYC.com. Such an important topic. All right, stay with us. We will be right back after this.